This is a clip from the Red Cow Arcade podcast.
Better Call Saul.
Let's do it.
So the episodes that have aired since we last spoke about it are the two black and white ones.
Yes,
The Gene Stakovic, whatever.
The Gene ones. So, I when the first one came out, people were like, "This is the Fly episode of Better Call Saul."
I guess they felt like it was meandering. The thing that's most fascinating, we've been chatting about this a lot lately, is very, very different from Breaking Bad, is that logistically, every loose end is now explained. What happened to Tim?
Yeah.
What happened to Kim during Breaking Bad? We know that. The people who ultimately die, like Gus and Mike from Breaking Bad, we know what their fate is. We know that Gene is indeed in Nebraska. Nacho has been
Lalo's
killed.
fate.
Yeah, so we know Lalo, we know Howard,
fate.
we know Chuck. Pretty much everything is solved. So, and they have 4 episodes left at the point that they've explained everything. And that's like, to me, that was so exciting to realize that. It was like, oh, you're going to get to tell like a 4-episode story that I didn't ask for, that like
It's basically a coda to whatever you told before. Like if they ended it on that previous one, I'd be satisfied.
Yeah. So it's like, it's, we often talk about plot versus story, plot being the kind of the mechanics that move you through a story, but the story, of course, are the thematics and what's the thing about. And so now it's like, we've completed all of our plot and it's just going to be story at this point. It's just going to be like, what becomes of this man's soul? And I'm just so impressed as usual, but like you think about, oh, it'd be really nice if they could service this thing. It'd be really nice if they could service this idea. You need a satisfying ending for this or whatever. And you start to think about all those things as you percolate on them throughout the week. And you're like, oh, I don't know if they're going to have time to do all that. And then they accomplish it with some simple little scene, some little barely any dialogue in it. They drew some visual parallel that just wrapped a bow on it. It's just so precise because it knows itself so well. And so that they can luxuriate in an entire episode that's about stealing Armani suits and eating Cinnabons.
Yeah.
And it all makes sense.
And I gotta tell you, I was watching that on my new Samsung TV, which I did a review about. Please go to Red Cow Entertainment YouTube and watch it. But and it's beautiful. That like episode it's just gorgeous. I just want to luxuriate in it. I want to eat it. It's just so good. Like every scene just it like pops.
Yeah,
And
it doesn't feel like they just
artful.
showed up with cameras and shot what they had to shoot and made it work in post, which is what so many things feel like.
Yeah, it's artful. It's great. And it like especially seeing it on a bigger screen with good contrast. It's just it's color correct. Even like the black and white is like everything just is very, very.
I think the
purposeful.
lensing is unique in these episodes as well. Maybe it feels that way. It feels like they're shooting on deeper lenses, maybe. But yeah, it's answering questions nobody ever asked. Dan, our friend Dan, put it really well. He goes, I don't know I have no clue from here, these last 2 episodes. I have no clue what they're going to do. And this is the much more interesting thing. I have no idea what I want them to do.
Yeah, exactly.
That is awesome. That's like, I think with most shows, when as they're finishing up, you're like, oh, this would be cool. And this would be cool. And these are the things that would satisfy me. These are the things that wouldn't satisfy me. You kind of know that going in. And this is like, they've just got you completely in the palm of their hands. You are not participating in the story anymore. They're the storytellers,
Yeah. And it's all, it all works with the characters. Like it all is true to the characters.
The things that were predictable should be predictable. Because if they weren't, then you would betray the character. That sort of stuff.
Yeah, because like with Jimmy, it's like, of course he would do that. Of course he would slip this way. I'm slipping Jimmy. Of course he would react this way, and it's yeah, like, and it makes you feel smart for watching it and noticing it.
Yeah.
It's just great.
Yeah.
It's like these and they're taking so much care in it.
Yeah. And it was always an open question. Like, how do you weave Breaking Bad into it? Because it did a really commendable job at being distinct from Breaking Bad while being extremely complimentary. You never had to watch until this very most recent episode. You never had to watch Breaking Bad to get Better Call Saul.
Yeah.
And now you do. And so they knew that they were going to have that apex moment. So like, what does that look like? And the way they did it was like, well, the decisions that Gene, Jimmy are making now are parallel to some of the bad decisions he was making in Breaking Bad, and drawing that parallel.
That, and it's so good. It's like when he's like, you know, going into the school, and then when he breaks into the house, like, right. So good. These people are amazing.
And consider the fact that Jonathan Banks' character, Mike, he was not in the show until Bob Odenkirk was unavailable for an episode, and then they needed somebody else to clean up Jesse's apartment when Jane died. And so they were like, okay, well, maybe there's like this cleaner, and maybe he works for Saul Goodman. I don't know. And they kind of, just threw him in. But before that, before he existed, there was the very first episode with Saul where he shows up to the high school to see Heisenberg, and he goes like, well, my PI only took an hour to find you. But there was no PI in the show at that point. Now it is so Mike. It could never have been anyone besides Mike. And
of course,
to actually have a scene where that PI Mike, where there is that intersection now, where and even like you understand their relationship so much better. Because in Breaking Bad, you were like, okay, like it seems like he works for him, but like pro bono, what's up with that? Why would he work for the lawyer if he worked for Gus, this Titan? And what does Jimmy know about Gus anyway? And
because we know they spend
that shit.
They spent so much time in the desert, and so they're like weird desert friends.
Yeah, they're friends. That's the truth of it. And I even just love that little detail of like when he refers to Gus as he who shall not be named.
It's beautiful. Yeah. Beautiful. These people understand their characters so well. They understand the story they're trying to tell, and they respect the audience. They respect their characters. It's just,
and I think like
it's refreshing because it doesn't happen all the time.
Right. I think brilliant people obviously will enjoy this show because it really rewards you for paying attention and everything. I also think like you don't have to be that brilliant to love the show, because there's also like a humanity underneath the whole thing. And I think just about anybody could connect to it. I have heard from the occasional person, they're like, I loved Breaking Bad, loved every second of it. Tried the first season of Better Call Saul, or the first two seasons. And I just found it slow, and I just kind of gave up on it. I hear that more than I expect. And I'm like, dude, come on, man. If you knew enough to stick with Breaking Bad, stick with this, because and maybe don't expect massive twists and turns every 5 seconds. Try to marinate in the characters and in the dialogue.
Yeah, but I think most people, especially because it's on Netflix, I think a lot of people give it its due. Yeah. And you'll be rewarded if you do.
Yes.
More than enough.
Imagine if you had, I suppose we shouldn't try to answer this question until we've seen the whole thing. But if you have Better Call Saul, El Camino, and Breaking Bad, watch order is I guess you'd have to watch it chronologically. But then the question is, where do you stick El Camino? So I guess you would do Breaking Bad, then El Camino, then Better Call Saul. That's probably the correct watch order.
I would say that's the correct watch order. Yeah. I know some people were like, well, especially because of this most recent episode where it literally called Breaking Bad, it kind of requires some previous knowledge.
It probably wouldn't be bad at all to do all of Saul up until he becomes Saul, then switch to Breaking Bad, then do El Camino, then finish out the last 4 episodes of Better Call Saul.
A little bit of a machete order there.
Yeah, you can do your own thing. We were saying that we hope that when all is said and done, these guys who've been working on this for 15 years or however long it's been now, it's time to like maybe just retire, right?
Yeah, we don't want a Hobbit out of these guys.
No, don't Hobbit this bitch.
we don't want a prequel trilogy. Yeah, it's I don't know. My gut feeling is that they will, like, I don't know, make a disappointing show on FX or something after this.
Yeah,
But
just stay away. I think in interviews they said, like, we're gonna take a break.
they should. I think they should recoup.
I love their interviews. Like when they often interview the director writer after the episode comes out. Like Variety will do an interview or something, and the interviewer will be like, "Did you always plan to do X or did you always plan to do Y?" And the answer normally is something like, "No, not always. But once we were there, you couldn't help but draw that parallel.
Yeah,
or you couldn't help but realize that this is, and so it's more like." You don't need a master plan to have a master plan, because if the elements are rich enough and they're meaningful enough and they're deep enough, then like the depth is going to come with them. Like you're going to find depth everywhere if everything has that level of depth,
Yeah. So yeah, I really do. I hope they take some time after this, and it is kind of sad in a way because, this is the best stuff being made.
This is it for goodness.
This is it. I'm going to be reviewing disappointing Disney Plus shows from now on, and House of the Dragon, maybe? I don't know.
No thanks. Wouldn't it be funny if the last 2 episodes just blew?
Just a betrayal of everything.
He's like, oh man, that was so boring and so uninteresting and poorly performed. And felt like they shot it on a volume.
It's like everyone's de-aged.
Yeah. You got Reva's in it. Everybody's letting each other live for no reason.
It's betraying every single character.
Insulting the audience's intelligence at every turn. You can tell where there was ADR to patch up bad writing. Like, oh my god, what happened?
It's like they introduced time travel at the last second.
Like, well, Bob Odenkirk had a heart attack right about now, and we had to finish the whole thing out on the volume.
Subscribe to Red Cow Entertainment on Patreon for full episodes every other week.